Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Liberty, watching the stars through the wide viewing window. His coffee had gone cold an hour ago, but he kept holding the cup anyway. It was a habit from his early days in space, when hot coffee meant everything was still working right. "Commander, we're getting something on long-range sensors," said Lieutenant Amy Foster from her station. Her voice carried that careful tone that meant either very good news or very bad news. Jake walked over to look at her screen. 3 years, into humanity's first deep space mission, they had seen a lot of empty space and dead rocks. Finding anything new was exciting and scary at the same time. "What kind of something?" Jake asked. "Unknown ship, sir. Really unknown. The design doesn't match anything in our database. It's big, maybe twice our size, and the energy readings are off the charts." Jake felt his heart speed up. This was it. This was what every human had been dreaming about since they first looked up at the stars. "First contact. Alert the crew, but keep it quiet. No general alarm yet. Get Dr. Park up here and tell Captain Ryan to prep his security team. Nice and easy. People." The next 20 minutes felt like 20 hours. Dr. Lisa Park arrived on the bridge with her usual messy hair and excited expression. She was the best xenobiologist Earth had, which was not saying much since no one had ever actually studied aliens before. "Is it really them?" she whispered, staring at the sensor readings like they might disappear if she looked away. "Unknown ship is hailing us," Lieutenant Foster announced. "They're using a standard mathematical sequence. Looks like they want to talk." Jake took a deep breath. Everything humanity did in the next few minutes would be remembered forever. No pressure at all. Open a channel. Let's see what our new neighbors have to say. The main screen flickered and showed the interior of an alien bridge. Jake had imagined this moment many times, but reality was always stranger than imagination. The beings on screen looked like they were made of living crystal, tall and thin with bodies that seemed to catch and reflect light in impossible ways. One of them stepped forward and began to speak in a voice that sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "Greetings to the vessel from the small blue world. I am Captain Velthar of the ship Serenity's Dawn, representing the Galactic Federation. We come in peace and with great concern." The universal translator worked better than anyone had hoped. The alien's words came through clear and easy to understand. "This is Commander Jake Morrison of the United Earth ship Liberty. We also come in peace. It's an honor to meet you, Captain Velthar." There was a pause. The crystal beings seemed to be talking among themselves in their chiming language. When Captain Velthar turned back to the screen, his expression was hard to read, but something seemed wrong. "Commander Morrison, we must ask you a very important question. Are you truly from the third planet in this system? The world you call Earth?" "Yes, we are, born and raised there. Is there a problem?" Another pause, longer this time. Dr. Park leaned forward, her scientific curiosity overriding any sense of caution. "Captain Velthar, if I may ask, how do you know about Earth? Have you been watching us?" The alien captain's crystalline features seemed to shift in what might have been distress. "Dr. Park, your world has been in our database for over 1,000 of your years. We have studied it from a safe distance, but we never believed any intelligent life could actually exist there." Jake felt confused. "I'm sorry, but why would you think that? Earth is a perfectly good planet. We like it there." "Commander Morrison, according to our science, your world is classified as an Omega-class death world. It is considered one of the most hostile and dangerous planets we have ever discovered. The fact that you exist at all goes against everything we know about biology and physics." Dr. Park laughed, which seemed to startle the aliens. "Captain, I think there might be some mistake. Earth is quite pleasant. We have nice weather, plenty of water, and lots of different plants and animals. It's really quite beautiful." The silence that followed was so long that Jake wondered if the communication had been cut off. Finally, Captain Velthar spoke again, and his voice sounded strained. "Dr. Park, you say your world has water. Are you referring to the substance composed of hydrogen and oxygen in liquid form?" "Yes, that's right. About 70% of our planet's surface is covered with it. We drink it, swim in it, use it for everything." "Why?" There was what could only be described as panic among the alien crew. Jake could see several of them moving frantically around their bridge, and their chiming voices had become rapid and urgent. "Commander Morrison, this is impossible. Water in its liquid form is one of the most corrosive substances known to science. No living being can survive direct contact with it. How are you even alive?" Jake looked at Dr. Park, who looked just as confused as he felt. "Captain, I'm afraid I don't understand. We're mostly made of water. Our bodies are about 60% water. We need it to live." The alien captain stepped back from his screen, as if Jake had just announced he was made of acid and fire. "This cannot be correct. You are saying that your bodies are composed primarily of a substance that dissolves most known materials, and that you consume it regularly for survival?" "Well, yes. We drink about 8 glasses a day on average. Is that really so strange?" What happened next on the alien bridge could only be described as chaos. Several of the crystal beings seemed to be having what humans might call panic attacks. Others were frantically checking instruments and computers. Captain Velthar appeared to be trying to maintain order, while also looking like he wanted to run away. "Commander Morrison, we must meet in person to verify these impossible claims. However, we will need to implement extreme safety protocols. Your very existence challenges the fundamental laws of biology as we understand them." "Of course, Captain. We'd be happy to meet. We have a shuttle that can dock with your ship, or you can send one to us." "No." The response was so quick and sharp that Jake stepped back from his own screen. "Forgive me, Commander, but we cannot risk direct contact until we understand how you have survived on such a world. We will arrange a meeting at neutral location, Starbase 7, which is 2 days' travel from here. Our medical team will need time to prepare containment protocols." Jake was starting to feel a little insulted. "Containment protocols? Captain, we're not dangerous, we're just humans. Commander Morrison, you are biological entities that have somehow evolved to not only survive but thrive in conditions that would instantly kill any known form of life. From our perspective, you are the most dangerous beings we have ever encountered, precisely because you should not exist at all." Dr. Park stepped closer to the screen, her scientific mind racing. "Captain Velthar, what exactly makes Earth so dangerous in your opinion? I mean, specifically?" The alien captain looked at her for a long moment. "Dr. Park, your atmosphere contains 21% oxygen, which is a violently reactive gas that would burn through most biological tissues. Your gravity is more than twice what most species can survive. Your weather includes electrical storms that generate billions of volts of energy. Your planet's surface is covered with a corrosive liquid that you apparently swim in for pleasure. These conditions would instantly kill any member of the Galactic Federation." The bridge of the Liberty was completely silent. Jake looked around, at his crew, seeing his own thoughts reflected in their faces. They had always known Earth could be dangerous, but they had never thought of it as impossible to live on. "Captain," Jake said carefully, "I think we have a lot to learn from each other. We'll meet you at Starbase 7 in 2 days. And Captain, thank you for not running away when you found out what we are." Captain Velthar's crystalline features shifted again. "Commander Morrison, in 1,000 years of galactic exploration, we have never encountered anything as fascinating or terrifying as you humans. We are scientists first, and you represent the greatest scientific mystery in the galaxy. We would not miss this opportunity for anything." The communication ended, leaving the Bridge of the Liberty in stunned silence. Jake looked at his coffee cup, still half full of what the aliens apparently considered corrosive liquid, and took a long drink. "Well, people," he said to his crew, "looks like we're more special than we thought." Starbase 7 looked like nothing Jake Morrison had ever seen before. The alien space station was built from the same crystal-like material as the Zephyrian ships, but it was huge and beautiful in a way that made human architecture seem clumsy and rough. As the Liberty's shuttle approached the docking bay, Jake could see other alien ships of different designs, proving that the galaxy was full of life they had never imagined. Dr. Lisa Park sat beside him, practically bouncing in her seat with excitement. Behind them, Dr. Amanda Rogers clutched her translation equipment and notes about alien languages, while Dr. Kevin Walsh carried samples of Earth life that he hoped would help explain human biology. "Remember, Jake said to his team. "We're representing all of humanity here. Let's try to make a good impression." "I still can't believe they think we're dangerous," Dr. Walsh muttered, looking at his collection of harmless plants and water samples. The docking process took much longer than expected. The aliens seemed to be running every possible scan on the human shuttle, and Jake could see robotic arms spraying something that looked like disinfectant over the entire hull. "They're really serious about this containment thing," Dr. Rogers observed. When they finally entered the station, Jake was amazed by what he saw. The corridors were wide and filled with soft-colored light that seemed to come from the walls themselves. The air tasted different, cleaner somehow, and there was almost no sound except for their own footsteps. They were met by Captain Velthar and 3 other Zephyrians, all dressed in what were obviously protective suits. The suits were made of the same crystal material but were thicker and completely enclosed the aliens' bodies. "Commander Morrison, welcome to Starbase 7, Captain Velthar said through speakers in his suit. "Please forgive the protective equipment, but our medical team insisted upon it." "No problem, Captain. We understand you're being careful." Dr. Rogers stepped forward with her equipment. "Captain Velthar, I'm Dr. Amanda Rogers, a linguist. I'd love to work with one of your language experts to improve our communication." One of the other aliens, slightly smaller than the captain, moved forward. "I am Crystalline Song of Morning, keeper of words and meanings. I would be honored to work with you, Dr. Rogers, though I must admit your very existence confuses our understanding of possible life forms." They were led to a large meeting room that had clearly been prepared specially for this encounter. One side of the room was set up for humans with familiar-looking chairs and tables. The other side had structures that seemed designed for the crystal aliens. Between the 2 areas was a clear barrier that looked incredibly thick and strong. "So, that barrier really necessary?" Dr. Park asked. "Dr. Park," Captain Velthar replied, "you must understand that what you call normal atmospheric conditions would be instantly fatal to us. The oxygen content in your atmosphere is so high that it would cause our crystalline structures to rapidly oxidize and collapse. We would literally burn up from the inside." Dr. Walsh set his samples on the table. "But oxygen is essential for life. How do you survive without it?" The alien medical officer, who had introduced himself as Crystal Mind of Depths, seemed to shudder inside his protective suit. "Dr. Walsh, we evolved in noble gas atmospheres with crystalline matrices for structure. What you call oxygen, we call fire gas. The idea of breathing it is like suggesting we inhale flames." "But how do you get energy?" Dr. Park asked, genuinely curious. "On Earth, we use oxygen to burn food in our cells to create energy. It's basic biology." The silence that followed was long and uncomfortable. Finally, Crystal Mind of Depths spoke, in a voice that sounded strained. "Dr. Park, you are describing a process of controlled internal combustion. You are saying that your bodies continuously burn fuel using fire gas to stay alive. This is impossible. No biological structure could survive such a process." Jake was beginning to understand why the aliens were so frightened. "Doctor, are you saying that our normal breathing would be like setting ourselves on fire from your perspective?" "Worse than that, Commander Morrison. Fire burns out quickly. You are describing a process that burns continuously for decades. It goes against every law of biology we know." Dr. Walsh opened one of his sample containers and pulled out a bottle of ordinary earth water. The reaction from the aliens was immediate and dramatic. All 4 of them stepped back quickly, and their chiming voices became rapid and high-pitched. "Please," Captain Velthar called out. "Seal that container immediately. The safety protocols." Dr. Walsh looked confused but quickly closed the bottle. "It's just water, Captain, plain, ordinary drinking water." "Just water?" Crystal Mind of Depth sounded like he was having trouble breathing, if aliens could have trouble breathing. "Dr. Walsh, that substance is used in our industries to dissolve the strongest materials. It is so reactive that we can only handle it in specially designed containment systems. You are carrying it in a simple glass bottle." Dr. Rogers was taking notes as fast as she could. "Crystalline Song of Morning, when you say water is used to dissolve things, what exactly do you mean?" Dr. Rogers, water breaks apart molecular bonds. It dissolves metals, crystals, and most organic compounds. It is one of the most dangerous industrial solvents in the galaxy. The fact that you can touch it without your biological structures immediately breaking down is impossible. Dr. Park leaned forward, her scientific curiosity overcoming any concern for alien comfort. But our bodies are mostly water. We're about 60% water by weight. Our blood is mostly water. Our brains float in water. Our cells are full of water. How can it be dangerous if we're made of it? The alien medical officer made a sound that the translator couldn't interpret, but it sounded like distress. Dr. Park, you are describing a biological entity that is composed primarily of universal solvent. This is like saying you are made of acid. How do you maintain structural integrity? How do your molecular bonds stay together? Well, Dr. Walsh said thoughtfully, we do have to drink water constantly to replace what we lose. About 8 glasses a day for the average person. You consume it voluntarily? Crystalline Song of Morning's voice went up several octaves. You regularly ingest a substance that dissolves biological matter? It doesn't dissolve us, Dr. Park explained. We've evolved to live with it. Actually, we'll die without it in just a few days. Captain Velthar sat down heavily in his crystal chair. Let me understand this correctly. You evolved on a planet where the most corrosive substance known to science falls from the sky regularly, covers most of the surface, and you not only survive contact with it but require it to live. Rain is actually quite pleasant, Jake said. A lot of people enjoy walking in it. You expose yourselves to it willingly? For pleasure? Dr. Rogers was scribbling furiously in her notes. Captain, what kind of conditions did your species evolve in? This might help us understand the confusion. Crystalline Song of Morning answered. We evolved in sealed crystal caverns with pure, noble gas atmospheres. Our homeworld has no liquid, water, no reactive gases, and no weather patterns that could damage crystalline structures. The temperature never varies by more than a few degrees, and the atmospheric pressure is stable across the entire planet. That sounds incredibly boring, Dr. Walsh said without thinking, then immediately looked embarrassed. Boring, Crystal Mind of Depths, repeated the word as if he'd never heard it before. Dr. Walsh, we consider it perfectly safe and logical. Your world, with its constant chemical reactions, weather chaos, and corrosive liquids, sounds like a nightmare designed by mad scientists. Dr. Park opened her tablet and showed them pictures of Earth. The aliens gathered around their side of the barrier to look, still maintaining their distance. This is a typical Earth landscape, she explained, showing them a photo of a lake surrounded by trees. The blue area is water. The green areas are plants, and those white things are clouds full of water vapor. The entire landscape is covered with solvent, Captain Velthar observed. How do the plant structures survive? They need the water to live, Dr. Walsh explained. Just like we do. Impossible, Crystal Mind of Depths muttered. Absolutely impossible. Dr. Rogers showed them a picture of people swimming at a beach. This is recreational activity for humans. We call it swimming. People do this for fun. The aliens stared at the image in complete silence. Finally, Crystalline Song of Morning spoke in a very quiet voice. They are voluntarily immersing their entire bodies in universal solvent, for pleasure. It feels good, Jake said, especially on a hot day, very refreshing. Refreshing, Captain Velthar repeated slowly. You find dissolving in acid refreshing. It's not acid, Dr. Park protested. It's just water. Here, let me show you something. Before anyone could stop her, she opened her own water bottle and took a long drink. The aliens watched in absolute horror as she swallowed what they considered industrial solvent. See? Perfectly safe, she said, wiping her mouth. Crystal Mind of Depths made that untranslatable sound again, louder this time. She consumed it. She actually consumed universal solvent, and she survived. Captain Velthar stood up slowly. Commander Morrison, I believe we need to completely revise our understanding of what biological life can be. Your species has achieved something that our science says is impossible. The second day of meetings at Starbase 7 began with Dr. Rachel Green setting up her weather monitoring equipment. She was Earth's best meteorologist, and Jake Morrison had specifically requested her for this mission after the aliens' reaction to basic human biology. If they thought water was dangerous, he wondered what they would think of Earth's weather. "Good morning, Captain Velthar," Jake said as the alien delegation entered the meeting room in their protective suits. "I hope you slept well." "We do not sleep as you do, Commander Morrison," the Crystal Captain replied. "We enter a state of reduced energy flow. However, I must admit that our rest period was disturbed by continued analysis of yesterday's impossible revelations." Dr. Steve Martinez, the geologist Jake had brought from Earth, was arranging rock samples and earthquake data on the human side of the barrier. Dr. Green had her weather computers running, showing real-time data from Earth that was being transmitted across space. "Today we thought we'd show you some of Earth's weather patterns," Dr. Green announced cheerfully. "I've got some really interesting storm footage to share." The aliens gathered around their viewing screen, though Jake noticed they seemed even more nervous than yesterday. Crystal Mind of Depths carried what looked like emergency medical equipment. "Before we begin," Captain Velthar said carefully, "we must ask how your species survives what our preliminary scans indicate are regular atmospheric catastrophes on your world." Dr. Green looked puzzled. "Atmospheric catastrophes? Do you mean storms?" "If by storms you mean violent energy releases in your atmosphere that generate destructive forces beyond most military weapons, then yes." "Oh, you mean like hurricanes and tornadoes," Dr. Green said with a smile. "Those can be pretty exciting. Let me show you some footage from last year's hurricane season." She pressed a button and the screen filled with satellite images of Hurricane Martha as it approached the east coast of North America. The aliens watched in complete silence as the massive storm system spun across the ocean, covering hundreds of miles with swirling clouds and rain. "This is a Category 3 hurricane," Dr. Green explained. "Wind speeds around 120 miles per hour, lots of rain, some flooding. Pretty typical for that time of year." Crystalline Song of Morning made a sound, like breaking glass. "Dr. Green, you are showing us what appears to be an atmospheric weapon of mass destruction. How do your cities survive such attacks?" "Well, we usually evacuate people from the worst areas and board up the windows. Most buildings are designed to handle hurricane-force winds. It's just part of living on the coast. You build structures, specifically to withstand what we would classify as planetary bombardment." Crystal Mind of Depth sounded like he was having trouble processing this information. "Sure. Building codes require it in hurricane zones. You have to plan for the weather." Dr. Martinez pulled up a video on his tablet. "Speaking of planning for weather, you should see what happened in Kansas last month. Tornado season was pretty active. The footage showed a massive tornado touching down in an open field, a dark funnel of spinning air that stretched from the ground to the clouds. The aliens watched in horrified fascination as the tornado moved across the landscape, tossing debris high into the air. The wind speed in the center of that tornado was about 200 miles per hour, Dr. Martinez explained casually. EF4 on the enhanced Fujita scale. Pretty impressive, but not a record breaker." Captain Velthar stood up abruptly. "Dr. Martinez, are you telling us that your planet regularly generates wind speeds that would tear apart our strongest buildings, and you have developed a measurement system for rating them?" "Oh yes, we get about 1,000 tornadoes a year in the United States alone. Most of them are pretty small, but the big ones can be really spectacular." "Spectacular," repeated Crystalline Song of Morning in a weak voice. "You find these atmospheric weapons spectacular?" Dr. Green switched to another video. "You want to see spectacular? This is lightning footage from a thunderstorm in Florida. We get about 25 million lightning strikes per year in the U.S. The screen filled with incredible displays of electrical energy, arcing between clouds and striking the ground. The aliens watched bolt after bolt of lightning illuminate the night sky, each one containing billions of volts of electricity. Those electrical discharges would instantly destroy any of our technology, Crystal Mind of Depths observed. "How do you prevent them from eliminating your cities?" "Lightning rods," Dr. Green said simply. "We put metal rods on tall buildings to attract the lightning and channel it safely into the ground. Benjamin Franklin invented them a few hundred years ago. You intentionally attract the electrical attacks? It's better than letting them hit something important." though sometimes they still cause problems. Last year, lightning struck a tree in my backyard and knocked out power to half the neighborhood. Dr. Martinez opened his laptop and showed geological data. Lightning is nothing compared to earthquakes. We had a 7.2 magnitude quake in California last month. Shook things up pretty good. He played video footage of buildings swaying during the earthquake, showing how the Earth itself moved and shifted beneath human cities. The entire planetary crust moved, Captain Velthar said in disbelief. Your world's surface is unstable. Oh yes, very unstable, Dr. Martinez agreed. We're sitting on tectonic plates that are constantly moving. California moves about 2 inches north every year. We get thousands of small earthquakes annually, and major ones every few decades. How do you build anything permanent on such an unstable surface? Earthquake-resistant construction, flexible buildings, reinforced foundations, base isolation, systems. You learn to work with it. Crystal Mind of Depths was taking rapid notes. You have developed technology to survive planetary surface instability, atmospheric electrical attacks, and wind speeds that exceed our military capabilities. What other impossible conditions exist on your world? Dr. Green grinned. Well, there's also blizzards, ice storms, flash floods, heat waves, drought, hailstorms, and volcanic eruptions. Oh, and don't forget about tsunamis. She pulled up footage of the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami, showing walls of water hundreds of feet high crashing into coastal areas. The ocean sometimes decides to rearrange the coastline, she explained. Underwater earthquakes can push enormous amounts of water toward shore very quickly. The aliens had gone completely silent. Jake could see them communicating with each other in their chiming language, but the translation system couldn't keep up with how fast they were talking. Finally, Captain Velthar turned back to the humans. Let me understand this correctly. Your planet regularly attacks you with electrical weapons, tries to shake you apart with surface instability, attempts to blow you away with destructive winds, and floods you with walls of moving water. How does your species continue to exist? We adapt, Jake said. Humans are pretty good at adapting. But surely you must live in protected underground cities to survive such conditions? Dr. Green laughed. Underground? No way. Most people live right out in the open. We like to see the sky. You voluntarily expose yourselves to these attacks? They're not attacks, Captain, it's just weather. Actually, a lot of people enjoy storms. There are storm chasers who drive around following tornadoes just to watch them. Crystal Mind of Depths made that untranslatable distress sound again. They pursue the atmospheric weapons for entertainment? It's exciting, Dr. Martinez said. I've chased a few storms myself. The power of nature is amazing to witness up close. Amazing and terrifying, Dr. Green added, but that's what makes it fun. Captain Velthar sat down heavily. On our world, atmospheric conditions have remained stable for millions of years. The temperature varies by less than 5 degrees annually. We have never experienced what you call weather. That sounds boring, Dr. Green said. Don't you miss the excitement of not knowing what each day will bring? We have never considered unpredictable atmospheric conditions to be exciting. We have always viewed them as incompatible with civilized life. Jake leaned forward. Captain, I'm beginning to understand something. You keep calling Earth conditions impossible or dangerous, but they're not really impossible. They're just different from what you know. Commander Morrison, your species treats planetary-scale disasters as minor inconveniences. You build your cities in areas where the planet regularly tries to destroy them, and you call it normal. From our perspective, this is not different. This is miraculous. Dr. Martinez pulled up a photograph of San Francisco's skyline. This city has been destroyed by earthquakes several times. We just keep rebuilding it. You rebuild in the same location where the planet destroyed your city? Sure. It's a nice spot, and we like living there. Besides, earthquake-resistant building techniques are much better now. Crystalline Song of Morning looked at the image for a long time. You are showing us a city built on an unstable planetary surface in full exposure to atmospheric attacks, populated by beings who consume universal solvent and breathe fire gas. And you call this normal life? Pretty much, Jake said, though I'd never thought of it quite that way before. Captain Velthar stood up slowly. Commander Morrison, I believe we need to revise our classification of your world once again. Earth is not simply a death world. It is a planet where the impossible has become routine, where catastrophe is treated as weather. The third day of meetings began with Dr. Kevin Walsh setting up what he called his biodiversity presentation. Jake Morrison watched the alien delegation enter the meeting room and noticed they were wearing even thicker protective suits than before. Captain Velthar's team had also brought additional medical equipment that hummed and beeped constantly. Good morning, Captain, Jake said. I see you've upgraded your safety gear. Commander Morrison, after learning about your planet's atmospheric, weapons and surface instability, our medical team insisted on maximum protection protocols. We are not certain our previous equipment was adequate for beings who survive such conditions. Dr. Helen Carter, the xenobiologist who had joined the human team, was arranging microscope images and biological samples. Next to her, Dr. Walsh had set up a tablet showing video footage of Earth's wildlife. Today we're going to share some information about Earth's biological diversity, Dr. Walsh announced. We thought you might find it interesting to see the other life forms that share our planet. Crystal Mind of Depths activated what appeared to be emergency medical scanners. Before you begin, Dr. Walsh, we must ask how many hostile life forms exist on your world. Hostile? Dr. Walsh looked confused. Well, that's hard to say. Most animals are just trying to live their lives same as us. Though I suppose some can be dangerous if you're not careful. Define dangerous, Crystalline Song of Morning requested, her translator making her voice sound nervous. Dr. Walsh pulled up a video of a great white shark swimming through clear blue water. The massive predator moved with deadly grace, its rows of sharp teeth clearly visible. This is a great white shark, he explained. They can grow up to 20 feet long and have several rows of razor-sharp teeth. They're apex predators in Earth's oceans. The alien stared at the screen in complete silence. Finally, Captain Velthar spoke in a very quiet voice. Dr. Walsh, you are showing us what appears to be a biological killing machine designed for maximum lethality. How large are your oceans? About 70% of Earth's surface is ocean. 70% of your planet's surface is controlled by giant predatory monsters? Well, sharks don't really control the oceans, Dr. Walsh said. They're just one type of marine life. There are thousands of other species. Here, let me show you a grizzly bear. The next video showed a massive brown bear catching salmon in an Alaskan river. The bear stood nearly 8 feet tall on its hind legs, with claws that could rip through trees and muscles that rippled under its thick fur. Bears can weigh up to 1,500 pounds, Dr. Walsh explained. They're omnivores, which means they eat both plants and meat. Very strong, very fast, and they can climb trees. Crystal Mind of Depths made a sound like crystals scraping together. Your land masses are populated by giant carnivorous beasts. With built-in weapons? They're not really weapons, just natural adaptations. And most bears avoid humans unless they're protecting cubs or food. Dr. Carter leaned forward. Actually, the really interesting part isn't the large predators. It's the microscopic life that's truly amazing. She activated her microscope display, showing images of bacteria, viruses, and other microorganisms magnified thousands of times. These are bacteria, she explained, pointing to tiny rod-shaped organisms. They're everywhere on Earth. In the soil, in the water, in the air, and inside every living thing, including humans. The alien medical officer stood up so quickly that his chair fell over. Dr. Carter, are you saying that microscopic parasites infest every living being on your planet? They're not all parasites. Most bacteria are harmless or even helpful. We couldn't survive without them. Our digestive systems depend on beneficial bacteria to process food. You intentionally harbor microscopic invaders in your bodies? Dr. Carter smiled. We don't have a choice. The human body contains roughly the same number of bacterial cells as human cells. We're walking ecosystems. The silence that followed was so complete that Jake could hear the hum of the station's life support systems. When Crystal Mind of Depths finally spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. You are biological entities composed of equal parts, host organism and microscopic invaders, living on a planet populated by giant predators, drinking universal solvent, and breathing fire gas. How is this possible? Evolution, Dr. Walsh said simply. Life finds a way to adapt and survive. Earth's conditions have created some pretty remarkable immune systems. Immune systems? Dr. Carter pulled up a diagram of human immune system components. Our bodies have developed sophisticated defense mechanisms to fight off harmful microorganisms. White blood cells, antibodies, lymph nodes, specialized proteins that attack invaders. You have internal warfare systems? Captain Velthar asked. Biological warfare systems, Dr. Carter corrected. Our immune systems can identify threats, remember previous attacks, and launch coordinated responses against specific invaders. It's like having a tiny army inside every human body. Crystalline's Song of Morning was taking notes so rapidly that her crystalline fingers were creating a constant chiming sound. Dr. Carter, you are describing beings that carry internal military forces designed for biological combat. This explains how you survive in such hostile conditions. Actually, Dr. Walsh added, humans have taken it even further. We've learned to use dangerous forces for our own benefit. He gestured to Dr. Dan Murphy, the engineer who had been setting up demonstrations of human technology. Dr. Murphy held up a simple electrical device. This is a flashlight, Dr. Murphy explained. It uses electricity to create light. You harness electrical forces for tools? Crystal Mind of Depths asked. Electricity powers most of our technology. Our cities run on electrical power. We generate it using nuclear reactors, burning fossil fuels, solar panels, wind turbines, and hydroelectric dams. Dr. Carol Brooks, the physicist, activated a small demonstration reactor. This is a model of how we split atoms to create energy. Nuclear power provides about 20% of Earth's electricity. The aliens moved as far back from the barrier as possible. Captain Velthar's voice was strained. Dr. Brooks, you are demonstrating controlled atomic destruction. You use the same forces that power stars to light your homes? It's very safe when properly managed, Dr. Brooks assured them. We've been using nuclear power for decades. You routinely harness forces that could destroy planets? Dr. Murphy held up a lighter. We also use controlled combustion for lots of things. He flicked the lighter, creating a small flame. Fire was one of the first tools humans learned to use. Fire, repeated Crystalline's Song of Morning. You create and control plasma for daily use. We cook our food with it, Dr. Walsh added helpfully, and we use it for warmth and light. You expose your food to plasma before consuming it. Cooking makes food safer and easier to digest, plus it tastes better. Crystal Mind of Depths sat down heavily. Let me understand. You consume other living organisms for nutrition, expose them to plasma, then use internal biological warfare systems to process them while microscopic invaders assist with digestion. That's a pretty accurate description of eating dinner, Jake said. Dr. Carter pulled up images of various Earth foods. Humans eat plants, animals, fungi, and fermented products. We also consume things that would be toxic to most other species. She showed them pictures of spicy peppers, garlic, onions, and various herbs. Capsaicin, the compound that makes peppers hot, is actually a plant defense mechanism designed to prevent consumption. Humans eat it because we enjoy the sensation. You consume plant toxins for pleasure? Spicy food is popular in many cultures. The hotter the better for some people. Captain Velthar looked at the images of human food. You showed us creatures consuming plasma-treated organisms, plant toxins, and fermented materials while using internal biological warfare to process nutrition and depending on microscopic invaders for survival. We just call it lunch, Dr. Walsh said with a grin. On our world, Crystalline Song of Morning said slowly, we absorb pure energy directly from our crystalline matrices. No consumption, no processing, no biological combat required. That sounds efficient, Dr. Carter said, but you're missing out on a lot of interesting flavors. Flavors are not worth risking biological contamination. Dr. Murphy demonstrated more human tools, matches, gas stoves, power tools, and chemical batteries. Each demonstration caused the aliens to retreat further and express more amazement at human ability to control dangerous forces. Everything you use is designed around harnessing destruction, Crystal Mind of Depths observed. Controlled fire, electrical forces, chemical reactions, atomic energy. Your entire civilization is built on managing dangerous processes. We prefer to think of it as using available resources efficiently, Jake said. Captain Velthar stood and paced behind the barrier. Commander Morrison, your species has achieved something unprecedented in galactic history. You have not only survived on a planet that attacks you with weather, geology, and biology, but you have learned to fight back using the same forces that threaten you. We don't really think of it as fighting, Dr. Walsh said. We think of it as living. But that may be exactly what makes you so remarkable, the alien captain replied. You treat survival as normal life, biological warfare as digestion, and planetary destruction as useful energy. You are warriors who do not know they are at war. The final day of meetings at Starbase 7 felt different from the beginning. Captain Velthar and his team entered the meeting room with new equipment that looked more like scientific instruments than medical protection devices. Jake Morrison noticed that while they still wore protective suits, the aliens seemed less frightened and more fascinated. Good morning, Commander Morrison, Captain Velthar said. I hope you will forgive the continued safety measures, but our scientists have requested additional data collection during today's discussions. Of course, Captain. We're happy to help with your research. Dr. Amanda Rogers had spent the previous evening working with Crystalline Song of Morning to create the first human-alien dictionary. The two linguists had made remarkable progress, and the translation between their species was becoming more natural and detailed. Dr. Rogers, Crystalline Song of Morning said, I must thank you for your patience in explaining human linguistic concepts. Your language contains emotional expressions for surviving danger that we do not possess. What do you mean? Words like exciting, thrilling, fun, adventurous. These concepts are linked to your experiences with planetary hazards. We have no equivalent terms because we have never associated survival with positive emotions. Crystal Wisdom of Ages, the Zephyrian philosopher, activated a large display screen. Commander Morrison, after 3 days of studying your species, we have reached some startling conclusions about humanity and Earth. Jake sat forward, curious to hear what the aliens had learned about his own species. First, the philosopher continued, we must formally revise Earth's classification in our galactic database. Your world has been upgraded from impossible Deathworld to paradox of biological impossibility. Is that good or bad? Dr. Lisa Park asked. It is unprecedented, Captain Velthar replied. It is a designation reserved for phenomena that challenge our fundamental understanding of life in the universe. Only 7 such classifications have ever been made in galactic history. Crystal Mind of Depths, the medical officer, stepped forward with his analysis. Dr. Park, your species represents the most significant biological discovery in recorded galactic history. You have achieved something we believe to be impossible. You have adapted to thrive in conditions that would instantly kill any known form of life. But we're not that special, Dr. Kevin Walsh protested. We're just living our lives. Dr. Walsh, that statement perfectly demonstrates what makes you remarkable. You consider miraculous adaptation to be ordinary existence. Dr. Dan Murphy, the engineer, had been working with the aliens to understand their technology. Captain, Velthar, yesterday you mentioned that certain regions of space have been avoided by galactic civilization. What did you mean? Mr. Murphy, there are vast areas of the galaxy that we cannot explore because they contain conditions similar to your homeworld. Planets with reactive atmospheres, unstable geology, extreme weather patterns, or aggressive biological systems. We have always considered such regions uninhabitable and dangerous. Captain Velthar pulled up a galactic map, showing large sections marked in red. These areas represent roughly 40% of potentially habitable systems that we have never been able to colonize or fully explore. Jake studied the map. You're saying there are entire regions of space that are off limits because they're too dangerous? Precisely, Commander. What we call the Forbidden Zones contain worlds that exhibit Earth-like characteristics. Until now, we assumed they were simply incompatible with intelligent life. Dr. Carol Brooks, the physicist, leaned forward with interest. But if humans can survive Earth conditions, we might be able to explore those zones safely. That is exactly what we are proposing, Crystal Wisdom of Ages said. Dr. Brooks, your species' unique adaptability makes you ideal partners for expanding galactic exploration into previously impossible regions. Lieutenant Ben Collins, the security chief, had been quiet during most of the cultural exchange, but now he spoke up. Are you suggesting some kind of military alliance? Not military, Lieutenant Collins, Captain Velthar clarified. Scientific and exploratory partnership. Your species could survive in environments that would be instantly lethal to us, while we could provide technological support and galactic knowledge. Dr. Rogers looked up from her translation work. This would be like a permanent cultural exchange program. Much more than that, Dr. Rogers. We are proposing full membership in the Galactic Federation with Earth recognized as the premier survival specialists in known space. The room fell silent as the humans processed this offer. Finally, Jake spoke. Captain, this is a tremendous honor, but I'm curious about something. What would the Federation gain from this partnership? Crystal Mind of Depths activated his medical displays. Commander Morrison, 3 days ago, we believed that life in extreme conditions was impossible. You have proven that not only is it possible, but it can produce highly intelligent, adaptable, and remarkably peaceful beings. Peaceful? Dr. Walsh asked. After all your concern about our dangerous biology? Dr. Walsh, despite living on a world that attacks you daily, despite possessing internal biological warfare systems, despite harnessing destructive forces for everyday use, your species chose to make peaceful contact with us. You could have approached us as conquerors, but instead you came as explorers and scientists. Crystal Wisdom of Ages continued the thought. Your species has achieved something we thought impossible. You have become stronger through surviving hardship, yet gentler through overcoming challenges. This is a combination of traits that is extremely rare in galactic civilization. Dr. Park looked thoughtful. So you're saying that living on a dangerous world made us tougher, but also more cooperative? Precisely, Dr. Park. Species that evolve in comfortable conditions often become complacent or aggressive when they encounter difficulties. Species that evolve in harsh conditions usually become too focused on survival to develop higher consciousness. Humans appear to have achieved both survival excellence and philosophical advancement. Captain Velthar brought out an ornate crystal document. Commander Morrison, on behalf of the Galactic Federation, I would like to present the Deathworld Accords for your consideration. Jake examined the crystal tablet, which somehow displayed text he could read despite being made of alien technology. What exactly are these accords? A formal treaty recognizing Earth as the galaxy's official extreme environment specialists. In exchange for sharing your survival techniques and assisting with dangerous exploration missions, humanity would receive full Federation membership, access to galactic technology, and the establishment of Earth's first interstellar embassy. Dr. Murphy's eyes lit up. Access to your technology, like faster-than-light travel and advanced materials. Among other things, Mr. Murphy, we are particularly interested in learning how you build structures that can withstand planetary attacks. You mean earthquake-resistant architecture? We mean everything, Mr. Murphy. Your engineering accomplishments represent thousands of years of advancement in survival technology. Lieutenant Collins raised a practical concern. Captain, how would this partnership work exactly? We can't all leave Earth, and you can't visit our planet safely. Lieutenant Collins, we propose establishing shared facilities in space like this station, where both species can work together safely. Additionally, we would help you develop technology for safely transporting other galactic species to Earth-like environments. Dr. Rogers looked up from the treaty document. There's a section here about cultural exchange. It mentions something called adaptation training. Crystalline Song of Morning answered. Dr. Rogers, we believe that gradual exposure to human environments might help other species develop greater adaptability. Not to Earth levels, obviously, but enough to expand their own survival capabilities. You want us to teach aliens how to be tougher? We want to learn how to find strength through challenge, as humanity has done. Jake stood and walked to the viewing window, looking out at the stars. His team gathered beside him and they spoke. quietly among themselves for several minutes. "Captain Velthar," Jake finally said, "speaking for the human delegation, we would be honored to accept this partnership, but we have one condition." "Name it, Commander Morrison. We want to establish a joint research station in orbit around Earth. If the galaxy is going to study us, we want to study the galaxy too." Captain Velthar's crystalline features shifted, and what humans had learned was the Zephyrian equivalent of a smile. "Commander, we would expect nothing less from a species that drinks acid and calls it refreshing." Dr. Park raised her water bottle in a toast. "To impossible partnerships." The aliens watched in fascination as the humans toasted with their universal solvent, still amazed that such beings could exist. "There is one more thing," Crystal Wisdom of Ages announced. "Throughout the galaxy, humans will be known by a title of honor reflecting your unique capabilities." "What title?" Jake asked. "Deathworld Guardians. It recognizes both your survival abilities and your role as protectors who make dangerous places safe for others." 6 months later, children in Earth's schools looked up at the new space station visible in the night sky, watching aliens in protective suits study rain through reinforced windows while human engineers designed ships capable of exploring the galaxy's most dangerous worlds.